Welcome to LollieTasking. I invite you to join me and other amazing and inspiring women discussing our passion, work, discovering our purpose, interesting topics, and how we seem to have it all together. I hope we can motivate you and show you you can do it too, with some planning, a little bit of balance, and a dash of determination. This is LollieTasking. Welcome to another inspiring episode of LollieTasking. I am your host, Dr. Lola, a pediatric cardiologist, mom of three, a work-life and productivity strategist, and founder and creator of the Productive Mompreneur Group Club for busy moms, where we learn how to intentionally plan and efficiently execute to become the CEO of our life and achieve our goals and dreams. That way we can leave a legacy for our children. On today's episode, I have a wonderful woman that is an inspiration to many, and she has always been my big sis in my head, of course. You know she likes it or not. She's always been my big sis in my head. Her name is Dr. Yemi. She is a medical doctor and a CEO and founder of the Soul Revival, whose mission is to empower women to have the courage to say yes to themselves so they can pursue their full passion-driven purpose. Dr. Yemi leads women through deep self-excavation to uncover powerful truths while providing them with the tools needed to rebuild their lives, pursue their highest selves, and fulfill their dreams. Oh, that just gave me chills. Okay, Dr. Yemi is also a board-certified cardiovascular anesthesiologist, clinical professor, speaker, and author. By profession and by purpose, her mission is to heal hearts one beat at a time, both inside and outside of the operating room. She's a mom of three wonderful children, and I would say she's a sister to many. I'm adding that to it. It is my absolutely pleasure to bring to the LollieTasking Dr. Yemi.
Good
Welcome,
morning.
Dr. Yemi.
Thank you so very much for having me. I'm so excited to spend this morning with you.
I love it. It's been fantastic. I've been trying to get Dr. Yemi on the LollieTasking crew, but let me tell you, Dr. Yemi is very popular, so we appreciate her being here today.
Oh, thank you. It's my honor to be with you.
So we were talking earlier, and I keep it reals with my peeps. Okay, I told I was like, listen, Dr. Yam, this is one where we both were busy. We really didn't prepare, so we're just gonna give it to y'all how it come, and we're gonna talk about one thing I want us to talk about is one, how we met and connected, and how she became my sister in my head, and two. And two, how she found her purpose. I want us to go through that, and we'll just kind of see where it goes. You ready for this, Dr. Yam?
All right, let's go. I'm
Let's
ready.
go. All right. So we're talking about how the first time I think we met. Well, we met virtually, I should say. We met socially prior to 2015, sometime around when this group we're in started, right? Um, and one thing I loved about Dr. Yemi, and this is why I say she's kind of like my big sister in my head, is she seems to be someone who she's who she is, right? Either you say it or not, right? You can tell she's authentic and she just puts it out there. You either accept it or you live it. And I feel like a lot of times in our culture, we've been taught to kind of guard a lot of stuff, that's private. You're not supposed to tell people. That's private. You're not supposed to tell people. And I'm the kind of person that I am who I am. I just put it out there. And the things that are quote unquote private, then I just kind of move back. I just don't even show face, right? If I can't be 100% me, then I take myself from the environment. That's kind of like how I dealt with it. And watching her through, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's such a what's the best way to see, like a sun, she's such a sun. Like when you see her, she just kind of glows and brings the glow with her, and
Oh,
I really
goodness.
appreciate that. No. And I really appreciated that about her. And I'm telling you guys this because you don't know who you're impacting when you're just being you. She probably didn't even know
Mm-hmm.
there's this random girl named Lola that's having daddy issues. Like
Mm-hmm.
just sitting around there. She was just telling her truth. And we connected on that. So my first question to you, Dr. Yemi, is what is it? And I don't even know if this is a question you can answer because I almost feel like it's how you are. Like, what is it about you? Did something happen when you were younger that just make you like, I'm just gonna be me? Or maybe that's what we think, and you're thinking, I'm really not like that, right? But what is it about that?
So I don't think that any one particular thing happened when I was younger. I think part of it has to do with the fact that I was blessed to have one foot in both cultures, right?
Mm,
And I learned very early on through various life experiences to own all parts of myself. You know, I have a parent who's Nigerian, and I was
mm-hmm.
raised full time by that particular parent. And as we were talking earlier, I talked about being raised very close to the culture. Even though I was born and raised in the United States of America, I was raised by
Right,
the primary parent who, by thinking, by culture, by worldview, is very much Nigerian. So I was raised very
right.
close to the culture. And growing up, that wasn't always it was hard in my younger mind to view that as a positive, because my middle school experiences,
Mm-hmm.
first moving from the West Coast to the Midwest, really it was a wake up call for me. Oftentimes I say, well,
Mm,
so it was the first time I was made aware of my blackness, because growing up on the West
right.
Coast, my blackness, my Nigerianness, my cultural identity, those things that made me me, were never called into question, were never used against me. And
Mm-hmm.
when I moved to the
Mm-hmm.
Midwest and was in middle school, those differences were very stark and they were constantly thrown in my face on a daily basis. And so
Wow.
when I went home to my mom and I said, Mom, I'm having all these problems, I'm being bullied in this way,
Excuse me.
I'm no problem. I am having so much difficulty with these, reconciling all the different parts of my identity. My mom was simply like, okay, this is the face you show outside. This is who you are at home. It's plain and
Right.
simple. And who it is that they're asking you to be outside is not who I expect you to be inside the home. And so, very early on, through that exposure, through being raised, with a very bicultural mindset, if you will, first
Mm-hmm.
generation, and through the lessons that my mom instilled in me about you really truly owning who it is that I am, I'll never forget also, she said to me, I think I was often called Yucky Yemi, or people would mess with my name and all sorts of,
Oh my
kids,
God.
you know how
Mm.
kids can be, right? And she
Middle
said to
school
me,
was
she said,
horrible.
middle school was so tough, wasn't it? It was so tough.
Yeah.
And she said to me, she said, Yemi, see, what is your name? And I said,
Mm.
my name is Yemi. At school, I shortened my name to
Mm-hmm.
the shortest
Yeah.
possible form of
Right.
my
What they
name
can handle.
for what they can
Mm-hmm.
handle, right? For ease, right? I'm Yemi. She said, is your name Yucky Yemi? Is your name whatever else they're calling you? No, Mom, that's not my name. So why are you answering them? So why
Exactly.
are you answering them? So I think when I look at myself, I don't answer to anybody except those who know how to say my name. And when I say my name, I mean those who see me. So
Right.
oftentimes those people who are worthy of knowing our stories, who are worthy of knowing what it is that we share for them, they present themselves as seeing you, as knowing how to quote unquote
Mm-hmm.
say your name. So through those lessons, through the
Right.
lessons that my mom taught me in terms of owning all parts of myself and really being able to reconcile myself, yeah, what you see is what you get. And if my story resonates with you, I definitely believe in that wholeheartedly. What you said earlier about, you know, you never know who it is that you're touching. So if me, by showing up, being my most authentic self, somewhere, some way makes a difference for somebody. And if that person is just one person, then I've walked in my purpose as I should have on this
Right.
earth. Mm-hmm.
That is fantastic. I one thing I love about our culture is names. I'm a pediatric cardiologist. I also do fetal cardiology. And whenever I go and scan the moms, the number one question I ask them is, "What's your baby's name? Well, what are you thinking of naming them?" And I just love all the names. And my next question I ask is why, or what's the meaning behind the name? And right. I think your name means, and correct me, I could be totally wrong. I think your name is like God, Yemisi, like loves me, right? Is that the meaning?
Not Femi.
Oluwa Yemisi?
Oluwayemi, see, God has honored me.
Honored me. That's okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when your mom was saying, I think that's what I was thinking, but I didn't know the actual word that goes with it. When your mom was saying, like, what is your name? What I was thinking is, your name is Yemi. You are honored, right? So when you walk into the room, you walk in with honor. And I remember when I was in middle school, actually, and it shows. Like you walk in and like, oh, there goes yummy, yummy, yummy,
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in middle school, I moved here. Most people don't know I moved here in middle school as well, and it was tough in that I actually loved being in Nigeria. Like people automatically think when you
Mm-hmm.
move from Nigeria, like you were starving with a pork belly and flies all over you. We had a better life in Nigeria than we did when we moved here. So for me, it was almost going from like really, really good to like, what the heck are we doing here? And
Yeah.
for various reasons why my mom had to leave. But at that point in time too, when I went to school, like, people would make fun of our names. They would make fun of. So my name is really Lola Day, and I had to shorten it to Lola, right, to make it
Mm-hmm.
easier or palatable for people, so they don't mispronounce that. And my baby sister, till today, people call her Moya Sola. Her name is Moya. Even at home, we call her Moya. And she said, "That's my name. They're going to learn how to say my name." And she almost reminds me of you. Um, and I think it's very important that as people, we own who we are. Our
Mm-hmm.
name is who we are. And once you own who you are, then people will be attracted to you. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really what I want people to get from this right here. So after you talk about, middle school and your parents being divorced, can you tell me a little bit about how the divorce of your parents impacted you and how your relationship is with both parents?
So my parents divorced when I was 5. And it's very difficult for a 5-year-old to understand any of that, particularly when I was
Mm-hmm.
your typical daddy's girl. My dad and I were
Mm-hmm.
5 and 6. We were inseparable. I was his shadow. If he
Mm-hmm.
went, if he went to the bathroom, I was in the bathroom with him. That's the kind of relationship that my
Oh.
dad and I had. I was close with both parents, but I really, really, really was close to my dad. And so I didn't understand what was going on when they split up and when he stopped coming home. And I really didn't understand then when my dad, through his own difficulties and whatever else that he was going through, finally didn't even show up for our Saturday time together. I'll never forget, it was a Saturday. We were supposed to ride bikes together. And I waited for hours outside for my dad to show up,
Mm-hmm.
and he never showed up. And to, I think that it's a little too deep to go into what that really did,
Mm-hmm.
how that really affected how I approached relationships later on in life. I think that, through, I'm very open and I'm very upfront about and
Mm-hmm.
an advocate for normalizing therapy, which has helped tremendously in terms of reworking those neural pathways that learn certain associations with love and abandonment and so on and so forth. So I'm very much a proponent for like, go ahead and find a therapist and work out those issues. So for me, they're split later on in life, thinking about, how I view relationships. It definitely had effect
Right.
on that. But just also, growing up, I think that uh, sort of intermittent involvement in my life definitely had its effects as well. So fast forward a number of years, my dad and I have been through our own journey and have been able to reconcile. And so now my dad and I have a very healthy, wonderful, healed relationship
Right.
that I'm actually very proud of. And so going back and really paying attention to those effects, and I'm blessed enough that he's still alive to have allowed that process to happen for myself. Because it obviously would have been much more of an internal process, if you will, if he were not alive to reflect
Right. Right.
the kind of healing that was necessary to take place in order for us to have the kind of relationship that we have now.
Mm-hmm. I think so like when there was that's one thing you and I have in common in that our parents were divorced when we were younger and our dad was not around when we were younger. And I remember when Dr. Yemi's dad came back into the picture, and it was such a beautiful thing to see. Not only was it beautiful, their relationship, it was beautiful to see healing, forgiveness, and true love out
Mm-hmm.
there, right? And I think a lot of times when people are like, no, you don't show that, no, it's private, no, people don't need to see that. I feel like you're actually preventing other people from healing, right? And I remember, I don't know what got into me that day. I like sent her a message. I don't even remember. I was like,
I do.
I love the relationship you have with your dad. I wish. Oh my gosh, I'm about to start crying. Oh.
I do remember that. Yeah, I do. So I do definitely remember that, and I scrolled back actually to that was October 2015 when we started really connecting on that deeper level, and
Mm-hmm.
that aspect of our lives that we had in common. And just through
Right.
me sharing my story, you began to pour out your story. And through
Mm-hmm.
that, I the kind of healing that took place for the both of us in just being able to be in that space and to be able to hold space for one another,
Right.
for
Right. Right.
daughter daddy's girls, to hold that space for one
Yes.
another and to share and to connect. Our stories are those things that
Right.
connect the dots between us. If I'm one
Mm-hmm.
dot here in this space and time and you're another dot here in that space and time, there are those stories that connect us, that bring us so
Mm-hmm.
incredibly close together. And I am such a person that believes in the power of connection to heal.
Right. Right.
Yeah, to open us
Right.
up for
And I
growth.
I totally agree because um prior to that, like me and my siblings, we've tried on our end. Like we're three girls. Girls love their dad. No matter what anybody says, girls love their dad.
Mm-hmm.
And to have their dad not be there is devastating. I think for me, especially because I was the oldest when we left, I think, and maybe my youngest sister. My middle sister, she's a it comes as it goes kind of person. But I think it affected us all in certain ways. And I think what hurt us the most was we had to choose. We had to choose
Mm.
between, we felt we had to choose between having a dad that was present and having our mom. We couldn't have both. And as girls, we felt like, based on the situation with our dad and everything, it was better we went with our mom. But it didn't mean we didn't want him. But he
Mm.
took that as we did not want him, right? And in I mean, this is not his words, this is us. And in retaliation, he pulled back. Because the more I grow older, the more I realize that we are all still little kids.
Mm.
We are all wanted. Like deep down, right? And a
Mhm.
part of me feels like he probably felt, I'm not making excuses for him. Now we're actually good, because after that conversation we had, I took it upon myself to heal myself. And this is like 25 years after the divorce. I'm all grown with
Yeah.
kids, okay?
Right.
you know and if you never heal, it will continue to build on, and it will just show up in places you don't even know it's there, right? And I
Absolutely.
would tell you, before I saw the relationship with your dad, if anybody asked me, it was like, oh, girl, they've been divorced 25 years. I'm good. We good. Like that was always the facade, right? And in
Mhm.
seeing that, I was like, no, I do miss the relationship I have with my dad. I do miss being able to call a father figure and ask them information when it comes to guys, right? That's another way it comes out, right? And in you sharing your relationship with him, we were able to heal together. And at that time, I went through my own therapy and counseling and everything, and I forgave him even before he asked for forgiveness. And I think the fact that I was able to forgive him even before then, by the time he came around, which we have not caught up on, I actually have a very good relationship with him now. Very good.
That warms my heart. That really warms my heart to
Yes.
hear that. That's so
Yes.
beautiful.
Um, right. And by the time he came around, I had the heart open enough to be able to accept him, right? Because I had done that healing. And I think that conversation we had was almost a turning point to help me prepare my heart. Because I don't think I would have been ready if he had
Mm.
just showed up, you know? See, I'm here to talk to Dr. Yemi, and I'm like,
No, that is so
but,
beautiful. Allowing the power of what it is that you just said to really sink in, to really get down into my soul, because that is, again, as somebody who believes so deeply in the power of connection and the power of our
mm-hmm,
shared stories to hold space and to heal each other, it is, you're maybe thinking that, oh, okay, well, as a result of me sharing, that was healing for you. But I'm
mm-hmm,
really actually being rejuvenated and revived, and my soul and my spirit is just being touched
mm,
this morning. Like, oh my
mm,
goodness, for you to be pouring back into me, and I think that I just had to sit in the power of what it is that you just said and what it is that you just shared, because that's something that happened 5 years ago, and to hear the testimony
right.
today is amazing.
Right. And like all that time when I was like, we should meet, I should see you. I wanted to talk to you in person and kind of give you like, guess what? This happened, But I want to say that in finding your purpose, like you went through a journey, when God puts something in you, it's always been in you. You've been healing soul even before you started Soul Revival Circle, right? You, I think, when people say, oh, I have to go find my purpose, right? Your purpose may always have been in you. You just have to cultivate it. You may not even realize that that's your purpose, quote unquote, your purpose, right? And I tell people your purpose may be as small as heal this one person who will then go ahead and change the world, right? Or hug this
Mhm.
person, or just give this person a lift from point A to point B, because we're all part of the bigger story, and we all have
Absolutely.
a part to play in that bigger story. So I thank you for that. Um, my next question, though, is that how were you able through the challenges, how did you come to find your purpose? Because this is journey to her purpose. So what went on that finally made you say, okay, here is my purpose, and this is what I want to do for women or people?
I like what you said about, that your purpose always being inside of you. And so I really do feel like, as far as my purpose, as far as what it is that I have wanted to do, it's something that definitely has been inside of me, that I've known, that I've had this sense of this idea that, okay, I'm meant for greater. I'm meant to give more. I'm meant to do more. There's more significance than the sort of the success that I've already met with, if you will. And so life has a way of coming along and reminding you that there's still this thing inside of you that you need to say yes to. There's still this seed that has been planted in you, no matter how long ago, that you need to water and that you need to nourish, you need to allow to grow. So for me, you being the daughter, very much the daughter of a Nigerian mom, you know how we are. It's like, okay, it's not just A that I want to see, it's A plus. And it's,
Right. A plus and the best.
Exactly, and the best. And it's not necessarily that in my house, in my upbringing, my mom didn't say, okay, you have to be a doctor, but I just knew that there was a certain standard to which I had to strive. And so achievement is very, very important in our culture. And I understood that from a very young age. So, okay, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, this is the plan for my life. And I set out to achieve those things. So it's the function of doing, right? And I had achieved all that I set out in my life to achieve. I said, I want to be married, I want to have kids, I want to be a doctor, so I'm going to go to medical school and I'm going to become this academician, and so on and so forth. So all of these goals that I had set for myself, I achieved. This culture, this idea of achievement had landed me with this immeasurable amount of professional success. And so I had everything that I set out to accomplish, and I thought that I had accomplished my dreams, until one day I found myself confronted with, okay, so I'm going through this divorce. Unfortunately, my marriage did not work out. And I found myself going through this divorce. And it was the first time in my life that I had never felt so isolated and so alone. And, I felt so much shame associated with what it was that I was going through. I didn't feel like I could share. I didn't feel like I could say to much of anybody, this is the difficulty that I'm facing. And so in that period of my life, I then felt as though, okay, it had all come crumbling down. And in that, okay, who am I? Who am I really? When you peel away all the layers, when you peel away the title of doctor, when you peel away the degrees, when you peel away the role of mom, wife, when you peel all of that away, who am I really? And so the confrontation of that question, who am I? And deciding in that moment, okay, right now in that moment going through the divorce, I was in survival mode. But how do I move from survival to thrival? How do I move from surviving to thriving? And so the key to understanding how I make that transition is understanding fully who it is that I am. So to move from a doing or an achievement mindset to who am I becoming? Who am I being? Who is the essence of who it is that I am? If you had to distill all the different parts of me and come up with this little essence, what is that? How do you capture that? Who is that? And so it was through that process that I then began to realize, okay, these things, these gifts, which the universe makes room for all of, without all of us, the universe makes room for each and every single one of our gifts. This gift that has been planted inside of you, how then do you continue to walk in that? How do you give rise to that? And how do you show up in that?
Right. So so when you so you found that like, okay, how do I show up in it? And it almost seemed like what you went through with your divorce helped you reevaluate yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I know we're both Christians, but I know sometimes, and I would never say, it's a good thing you got divorced. Obviously, people are hurt, your children are, there are a lot of things involved. But I feel like sometimes things happen for us to kind of like reset ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when we can't see the true essence of the purpose of what we're trying to be or do, right? Like situations will reset to help you kind of relook at it, aka COVID crisis. Like let's even get past personal right now, right? The
Mm-hmm.
COVID crisis has opened our eyes and a lot of like the inequalities. Not that we didn't know it was there, like shoot, we sure did. Like the blacks knew, right? But a
Right.
lot of people didn't realize how bad the inequalities were. And it was until that came about that we're able to, like, some people were able to see it in a different lens. Um, so I'm the kind of person that I like to kind of focus on the good in things. And I think in whatever situation happened, yes, it wasn't for the best, but in it, at least you were able to realize that, listen, I'm a healer, not only in medicine, but I'm a healer of the whole person. Because what you did for me, Dad, you didn't even realize what you were doing. I could probably assure you, right? Like you thought we
Yeah.
were just chatting. But in
Right.
us chatting, we were healing each other, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was your purpose. And when you realized this, so did you go to a school for it? Like, what was your next step in kind of like channeling your purpose and say, okay, I'm going to make a business out of this and touch more women?
Oh, wow. Did I go to school for it? The short answer is no. I didn't. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
what did happen is life was my greatest teacher in those moments. And
I was going to
so
say that. I'm like, you went to life school.
I went to life school. So really, honestly, this is me using not only the detours and the side roads that my life has taken as my teacher and my guru, if you will, but also that in 15 years and working as a cardiovascular anesthesiologist and literally walking into a a preoperative holding room, if you will. Say, hi, my name is Dr. Yemi, and I'm your anesthesiologist, and I'm getting ready before we open up your chest to take you to what people themselves view as, the brink of death. Like people have this very
Mm-hmm.
inaccurate thought about what happens under anesthesia. They have certain fears that they have to confront.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am coming in, a physician they've never met before, and telling them that, I'm the person that's going to do that. I have literally seconds to establish enough trust with somebody to
Mm-hmm.
address those anxieties and those fears and say, it's going to be okay. Because I
Right.
have the experience and the knowledge necessary to take you through the surgery and to take care of you in the immediate postoperative period so that you are going to get to your path of healing. We're going to literally heal your heart. And so there is no school that I've been to besides that school of life experience that allows
Mm-hmm.
me to say, I have the training and the tools before me, which is my own heart, which is my own
Right.
openness, my own vulnerability, my own empathy, my own compassion, my own kindness, which
Mm-hmm.
equips me to be able to say, okay, I am a specialist in the art of healing heartbeats. And so
Right.
through that, through, my beliefs in how I integrate heart and mind, that's why I say I'm an integrative mindset strategist. Through that integration, through that transformative healing that I believe that everybody needs to go through in order to find their own passion-driven purpose, it's simply me showing up in the most authentic way that I know how to facilitate the kind of self-inspection and self-awareness that needs to take place within each and every one of us in order to move into where we are walking into our purpose.
Right. I think the best school you can go to is the school of hard knock life, to be honest, because it teaches you things that you never thought you could deal with. It gives you resilience. It gives you the ability to be able to say, I have been to where you've been, and this is how I've been through it. And to be honest, like if I don't I'm not saying that people who don't have diverse families wouldn't have been able to empathize with me, but the fact that you went through that, and you knew what to say without being judgmental, but at the same time being like, you know what, you got to, because I remember saying stuff like, I have I have to go back and read those texts again. I didn't want to because I
Yeah.
didn't want to cry before our interview. But I remember saying stuff like, "Do you know how many times we have tried to contact him? I'm done." you know, and you basically was like, "Yeah, you just got to try again." Something to that sense. At least that's how it came out, and almost pushing me like, this is important. This is something important. That was the gist of it, and you need to, like, forgive yourself, forgive him, and all that stuff. And it came down to it. And let me tell you, my mom had been saying that for years, and I'm like, what makes you think I didn't forgive him, Mom? Like, we're over it. Why you keep bringing this up? Why you keep bringing it? But your moms know you more than you know yourself.
Right.
But it took someone who I felt like knew me to be able to touch my inner core heart, right? To make that you straight up peeled out all the orange peel and just left the seeds like that
Right.
day. So
Right.
I
And I
think that
think
is
that,
very important.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it's even overall, I think that one of the things that I describe is, or how it is that I coach other women, is trying to provide a sense of clarity. So, what I was simply trying to do is get you to forget about your dad, forget about trying to figure out what space your dad was in, hold enough, hold the space where you're having enough compassion for yourself, having enough compassion for that girl who was at the age, who was 12, or the age that you were when it became clear that you had to make that, or you felt like you had to make that choice. Hold enough compassionate space for that girl and heal that girl. Your healing is for
Right.
you. Your forgiveness is for you, not for the other
Right.
person. So trying to figure out, okay, well, what has this person been doing for the last 25 years? That wasn't the key to your healing. The key to your healing was
Right.
definitely within you, which is why healing can still happen when the person that caused that traumatic time for you is no longer around to be able to have those conversations with.
Right.
So just because a person is gone or a situation has, transpired, doesn't mean that that healing isn't available if somebody can't have that what everybody looks for in terms of quote unquote closure.
Closure. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that was exactly what happened in my case, at least personally. Like, I had to heal myself first. And to be honest, if you don't forgive yourself first or heal yourself first, it's hard for you to be able to forgive the other person when the time comes. So,
Exactly.
so with that being said, I know this has been a wonderful conversation, and we've been chatting for a little bit. Just segueing now into more, we talked a little bit about your divorce and how it brought you to your purpose and how you're doing so much fabulous work for women and helping them heal with whatever it is going on in their lives. But I want to talk specifically with you now that you are divorced. You have three children. How are you able to? I'm sure you've healed, and not going specifically to the details of the divorce, but how are you able to move past the unity you had, right, with yourself, and being able to raise this, preteens to teenagers now that you have, without feeling like, and this is for the moms out there, without feeling like maybe, I'm not doing them justice because they're not in a unit family. I don't know if my question makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It does make sense. And as a mom, there is always a certain measure of guilt that you end up having to reconcile within yourself. And I am no different. It's one of those daily conversations that I have with myself. Am I doing it right? Am I raising them as best that I can? Am I making the right decision? Am
Mm-hmm.
I, let's face it, like we think to ourselves, the best job that we can do for our kids is like not royally squaring them up. So on a daily basis,
Right,
hopefully I'm not
right.
doing something that necessarily scars them for life, right? Chris
Yeah,
Rock
yeah.
always had that. Chris Rock always had that. The joke where he talks about what he was trying to prevent happening for his daughters. And I think that there's a measure as parents where we are like, okay, this is where I don't want to have happen as a result of my own traumas and my own challenges
Mm-hmm.
in life, and in not being able to raise my kids in that two-parent household. One thing I do know for sure for myself as a mom, being raised by a single mom, is that kids do learn resilience if that's what you choose to teach them, if that's what you
Mm-hmm.
choose to show them. And so, just as my mom was able to demonstrate a certain resilience for me, and I was able to, be a productive human being in society as a result of the values and the core values that my mom instilled in me, I know that the decisions that I made for my mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health, to proceed in life as a divorcee, rather than stay in
Mm-hmm.
a marriage that was no longer healthy for either of us. I know
Right.
that in making that and having the courage to be brave enough to make that decision for myself, that in and of
Mm-hmm.
itself is something that is going to be beneficial for my kids. So yes, I have mourned not being able to raise them in a two-parent household. And recently my daughter and I were talking, and she looked at me and just said, "What took you so long?" So kids know. Kids have a
Wow.
certain they have a certain element of wisdom. And even my kids could see that we were
Mm-hmm.
struggling, and my kids could recognize that it wasn't healthy. And so now they're able to see a much healthier situation. And
Right.
I think that their dad and I are working on moving from a parallel parenting relationship to trying to find better ways to co-parent them.
Right.
It's an ongoing challenge. And so, but for the grace of God and my faith and being
Mm-hmm.
able to rely on my tribe. And right now my tribe includes neighbors. I have
Yep.
the best neighbors, who
Oh,
are empty nesters, who really are pouring into my kids right now. It includes grandparents, it includes extended family, it includes a whole lot of people. It's my
right.
village that is helping me raise healthy, productive, compassionate, kind members of society who I have no doubt, I do not doubt that my kids will be just fine. They'll be resilient individuals who will be just fine in making their own path in the world.
Oh yeah. I think your kids will be fantastic. I agree. Your kids are amazing just based on what you show us. Um, And how are you able to now go into more to productivity now? I love the fact that you said you are relying on your tribe. Even though we already said, Dr. Yemi is amazing, she's a son, but she's still human, right? I think it's okay for us to accept that we're humans and we need help sometimes,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And the more we ask, the more we ask for help, the better. Because sometimes a lot of people don't even realize that, not that they don't think you need help, they just don't want to intrude or impose on you, right? So they will wait for you to ask for that help. And I love the fact that they're empty nesters, because I'm sure they're like, oh, new kids I could play with, but I don't have to worry about paying their college, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
So
They're
that's
wonderful. They're hey, does your youngest have a soccer game that he needs help getting to this weekend? To,
wow.
recently the youngest is into flying and rockets and jets and all that kind of stuff. And bought him a rocket set and took the time to just build a rocket and set off the
Wow.
rocket with him. So it's time, it's teaching, it's all sorts. And if
Right.
you my village that wants to pour into my children, I am forever grateful for it. And the more I express
Mm-hmm.
gratitude for it, the more it comes in abundance.
Right, right. That's fantastic. So besides your village, what other things would you say helps you more, or mommy hacks, do you say helps you guys as a whole with productivity?
So I would, back when they're for the first time, in my oldest is 15, and I stopped having a nanny last year. So for the
Mm,
first time in
okay.
14 years, I found myself without a nanny. So full disclosure, all of this that you see up until this point was because I had an extra heart, if you will, an extra
Mm-hmm.
heart, an extension of myself in the form of a nanny, helping
Right,
me to care for my
right,
kids so that I could work full
right.
time, so that I could be the best that
Uh-huh.
I could be. And I'm a strong believer in, I don't necessarily want to say, okay, outsource your parenting, because that's not what I mean. But I
Mm-hmm.
am a strong
No.
believer in outsourcing whatever it is that you can outsource. So I don't like cleaning a house. I don't like, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't like house cleaning.
Yeah.
So I do
Mm-hmm.
rely on a housekeeper to help me with that task. And the things that I don't particularly enjoy doing, or I'm not necessarily that great at, again, because I don't enjoy doing them, I fully believe in
Right.
outsourcing. And I had to be okay with myself with realizing that if I want to work full time and you know do what it is that I believe that I was put on this earth to do, that I need help. And
Mm-hmm.
help in various
Right.
forms is absolutely okay. And for me, that was in the form of a nanny. I am currently working on trying to find a virtual assistant, actually two, because I,
Mm-hmm.
realized that I
We could
need.
talk after. We could.
Yeah,
I, I
wonderful.
I have some people I can refer to you. We could talk after. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So outsourcing, outsourcing, outsourcing. That is part of my belief system, that I don't think that I have to do it all in order to have it all. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
So that, hey, hashtag that. I don't have to do it all
Mm-hmm.
in order to have it all. I
To
just
have
have,
it all. Yep.
yeah, I just have to know where to go get what I need in order to have it
Mm-hmm.
all.
That right there makes you a lolly tasker, because that is what we talk about. We say you can be ambitious, you can do it all, but with some planning and a little bit of balance and a dash of determination. And your planning has to do with what you have planned to do for yourself. It has to do with delegation. It has
Mhm.
to do with letting people do what they do best. I could tell you the housekeeper probably, no shade, Jeremy, but I could tell you the housekeeper probably will clean your house better than you will, right? So why
Absolutely.
do it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
I have
why
two
do it
boys. Why
when
would
you
I want to
can?
get under the toilet with these two boys? Oh, no.
Right.
Absolutely.
No,
Because that's a part I would
no.
just skip over.
Exactly. So why stress yourself doing all that stuff when you could get people who would do it so much better than you, and you could focus on your zone of genius. Your zone, you could have as people talk about your zone of genius a lot of times in businesses and like what you do, the fact that you're a healer. I'll call you a healer as a soul
Mm,
revival coach. You're a healer. And you doing that's your zone of genius, being able to connect with people and heal them, right? Your zone of genius in parenting. You can also have a zone of genius in parenting. There are things you're good at in when it comes to parenting each individual child. But here's the thing, and I'm talking to all the lolly-taskers here. Yeah, listen, okay? If you're at home for like 3 hours, let's say you get home at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., you're home for 3 hours with the kids before they go to bed, and all you're doing in that 3 hours is cleaning while you're present, while you're in their presence, as in you're physically there, you're not present with the
mhm,
children. And we've said this a lot of times in the LollieTasking podcast. Like children really want you to be there. Like
mhm,
they spell love as time. So the fact
mm,
that you're able to get this housekeeper, what it does is it frees up the time so you can actually spend quality time. It may not be
right,
quantified, right? It's not quantity, but the little time you spend with them, you just said you sat down and had a conversation with your daughter. If you had to clean the house, what time would you have to sit there and have a conversation with your daughter, you know? So I've heard people all the time say, it's a little bit too much money. I chose to invest in cleaning myself. My cleaner comes weekly because I mean some people do it monthly. I prefer mine to come at least weekly because I do have three little kids and they do make a lot of mess. So we do general cleaning in between, but it gives me time to be able to spend with the children and actually parent, like having conversations with them. That's where a lot of the parenting comes
right.
into play. So one last question before we round out. What is your favorite quote? It could be a Bible verse or a saying or anything.
Oh, so my favorite quote is, "A candle loses nothing of itself in lighting another." And I think that that goes back. I actually don't
Ooh.
know who said it. Yes, a candle loses nothing of itself in lighting another.
So,
So my light does not shine any less bright in lighting,
amen.
in giving others light. And it goes back to my belief that, the universe makes room for all of our gifts. So if I can
Mm-hmm.
uplift and I can empower other women, it in no way diminishes myself. Even when
Right.
somebody reaches what somebody may consider heights higher than myself, it
Mm-hmm.
takes away nothing from me in
Absolutely not.
lighting or empowering another woman. And so, yes, a candle loses nothing of itself in lighting
It
another.
When you were saying that, I'm a imaging person, so I visualize a lot. I literally had a visualization of a dark room with one candle, and then as that candle lights multiple candles, the light becomes even brighter.
Brighter. Exactly.
The more candles you light, the more you brighten this dark world we're in. Oof,
Absolutely.
that just
Absolutely. And that hit me just as you were saying it too. It's like, or in a unity ceremony where people
hmm
choose to light a candle, you have one candle and that candle lights another candle. And then together, those two candles light a
a
unified
unified
candle.
candle.
And of
Yes,
course, it literally brightens the room. And that
right.
really just speaks to my entire belief system and what I believe my purpose on this earth is to do, which is literally to inspire every woman on this planet to have the courage to say yes to herself.
Amen. I think this is a perfect place to end this. Today's episode was awesome. Oh my gosh. Like we started out with discussing why it's important for us to be authentic. We got a little bit closer. Like people knew a little bit about me now, even though we came to talk about you. Um, And like we've just learned a lot from you, Dr. Yemi. How can people, like with people listen, like I love Dr. Yemi. I'm going through some things that I feel like she would be able to help me with. How can people get a hold of you?
So, people can get a hold of me on all social media handles at Dr. Yemi MD. That's DrYemimD. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn as Dr.
Okay.
Yemi MD. I am also the host of the Soul Revival podcast. So you can find me on Spotify, Amazon, as well as Apple. The Soul Revivals podcast. Go ahead and subscribe to that, where we talk about how to transform after trauma and help women, heal their own hearts through the topics that we talk about on the podcast. And we continue those discussions on a private Facebook group for women called the Soul Revival Circle.
Awesome. So I will have all those information in our show notes. So if you guys want to get a hold of Dr. Yemi, and I highly recommend it, go ahead and click on. And even if you're like, I just want to see what this private Facebook is about, I'll put the link also in our show notes. That way you can join us. It's a wonderful Facebook. Like every time I go in there, it just uplifts me, So if you want to get your little, we talk about mind boosts here. If you want to get your little mind boost, you could probably literally just log in and just see some beautiful things that are added on there. And you will be
Absolutely.
having a perfect day. But with that being said, thank you so very much for joining us, Dr. Yem. Is there any last words you want to say?
Oh, I'm very honored to be on your podcast today. And I call it soulspiration. So these moments, these little touches that, I got my daily dose of soulspiration today. So thank you so very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm glad the LollieTaskers will be listening are so happy to hear all we have discussed today. So I thank you for joining us. Thank you, LollieTaskers, for joining us for another inspiring episode of LollieTasking. Like I said, we'll have all Dr. Yemi's information in the show notes. Don't forget to follow us at our IG at LollieTasker and follow us on Facebook at LollieTasking. Until the next time we meet, remember, you can do it too with some planning, a little bit of balance, and a dash of determination. This is LollieTasking. Thanks for hanging out with us in another inspiring episode of LollieTasking. If you have any questions or topics you would like for us to discuss, please contact me via LollieTasking.com, or better yet, you could just send me a direct message on Instagram at LollieTasker. If you've liked what you've heard today, what are you waiting on? Just go ahead and click that subscribe button, rate and leave a great review on iTunes. And of course, do share with your friends. Till next time, this is LollieTasking.